than 200 years ago, Americans fought a revolution against big government.
He has erected a multitude of new offices and has sent hither swarms of officials to harass our people and eat out their substance.
George III and his bureaucrats taxed and controlled their lives until the people said, enough. The government in Washington, D.C. makes you nostalgic for old King George. The royal tax collectors took about 25% from our ancestors. This year, government at all levels will extract 50% of our money to waste. And not gently. IRS agents use wiretaps, mail openings, informants, disguises, guns, chains, and jails to get every last dime. Meanwhile, at the Federal Reserve, 12 faceless bureaucrats decide your economic future in secret. How much inflation should there be next year? What should interest rates be? How much of your savings should be transferred to politicians and their favored big banks? The Supreme Court, where individual rights are supposed to be protected, think it's fine if government invades our financial privacy, spies on us in our bedrooms, regulates church schools, and restricts our free speech. Meanwhile, at the Congress, everything is up for grabs as long as it's yours.
Hi, welcome to On Second Thought. I'm Susan King. Thanks for joining us. The good guy in the white hat sitting next to me, the host of the show, Mr. William Wagener. Thanks for joining us.
Here I am again. Well, have you lost control of your federal government, your state government? Well, a certain Congressman Traficant of Ohio has lost control of his 1/435th part of the government because there's that many Congress people. When he got convicted of major crimes, I mean, the federal government really came after him, Susan.
Well, what was he convicted of?
Not really important what he was actually convicted of, Susan. As you know, and we know men who have been convicted of the major crime of saying, I love you, boys, in a public street, and they got railroaded through a kangaroo court, and we know people have been dads, good dads, who have been railroaded, convicted. So if somebody wants to get you, they will get you. And we know that's happened. And the kids are even, in that case, were even ordered to see their kid, their dad. And the dad was supposed to see him, and it didn't matter. Hosed him down, got him convicted. So what they actually convicted Traficant of is not so important.
That was a ridiculous case of judicial and prosecutor abuse against the father. But back to Traficant. What's relevant about the Traficant conviction then?
Well, his judge was appointed by President Bill Clinton during the Clinton administration after scrutiny by the Janet RENO Attorney General Department. Traficant is called, and I like this, people. I mean, I may not like everything Traficant has done and voted for, but I like this guy now. Why? Because he has said the truth. He's a Democrat. And he said about Democrat Janet RENO, she's a, quote, traitor to the nation. And I agree with him. In my humble opinion, Janet WACO RENO is not only a mass murderer, but a traitor to the Constitution she swore an oath to defend. And in my humble opinion, Congressman Traficant is correct. She is a traitor to the nation. And this caricature of a woman, this Janet WACO RENO, needs to be indicted for murder of church people in their Mount Carmel church outside Waco, Texas. This is the face of a murderess. She shouldn't be running for governor. She should be in prison. But this person belongs to be in a jail. Now, there was this little discussion between Greta Van Susteren, which most of you, I'm sure, missed. And I'm going to read what Traficant said and listen, and Susan will read what Greta Van Susteren said. And it went like this. Yes, I think it was a combination of beating them. They had to clean up that record, number one. And number two, the China thing. Calling Janet RENO a traitor. Now, remember this. The judge that tried me was appointed by President Clinton. They had to scrutinize and approved and the background check performed by the Justice Department headed by U.S. Attorney General Janet RENO. Janet RENO, in my opinion, look, I'm not on the House floor. She's running for governor of Florida. She's a traitor to the nation.
Well then, wait, but your prosecutor...
She betrayed America.
All right, if the motive was political, this was Democratic, how do you explain the fact that you were prosecuted by Republican Justice Department?
Well,
how does that play into in your mind?
Yeah, well, this whole ordeal started underneath the Reno investigation.
Okay, all right, let's see. Why would Reno hate you just over in your...
No, it wasn't that. It was a combination of local, national, very outspoken, and I touched on the issues that people didn't want to hear. They didn't want to hear about Pan Am Flight 103. They didn't want to hear about Ruby Ridge. They didn't want to hear about WACO, where they could have arrested Kirshner or Koresh any day out jogging. Instead, they killed 80-some people. Here's what happened, in my opinion. We have an America at stake. People are afraid of their government. A federal judge can only be removed one way, Greta. They die. They resign, or the FBI, IRS, Treasury Department develops a case on them. Right now, and don't believe an American, especially a politically targeted American, can get a fair trial. And I believe what's happening in this fear factor in America is dangerous. Why do we fear our own government? That's what Trafficant said. Before you give, once again, more details, before we give you more details of the FBI cover-up in Oklahoma City, which happened 7 years ago, I want to acquaint you with the news ABC, CBS, and NBC are hiding from you.
Which is?
Your federal government running amok with power. And a lawsuit by Larry Klugman of the Judicial Watch to curb the abuse by both the Clinton and Bush administration has brought fire from the Republican administration down on Judicial Watch. You need to know this. In 1998, people, along with Congressman Bob Barr and others, Judicial Watch conceived of the concept of impeaching Bill Clinton for not only Monica Lewinsky, Chinagate, and Filegate, but also misuse of IRS and other crimes in office. Again, thanks to the financial help of our supporters, we compiled and released the most damning collection of evidence ever, which required Clinton's impeachment, conviction, and removal from office.
Hey people, the federal government, the Bush and company, are harassing the watchdog group, which protects your civil and constitutional rights, not to have your IRS income tax files used to harass you. So is Congresswoman Lois Capps doing nothing about it? Nothing.
Nope, she's doing nothing. Do you see the Bush administration not prosecuting Janet RENO people?
Time to register, right.
Who, in my opinion, again, I got to say it again.
Right.
I got to say it again. Excuse me, where's the book?
The book.
In my opinion, they're not prosecuting this woman, who in my opinion is a mass murderer for actions at Waco, Texas.
So in my opinion, it's time to register and vote Libertarian.
Do you not even now know that Congressman Trafficant Ohio called Janet RENO a traitor to the nation? You haven't heard that much on the major TV stations?
No.
Thanks for writing, Phyllis.
Oh, okay. Phyllis out in Orchid asked to see U.S., what do you want to call it? Oh, U.S. Army tanks, flamethrowers.
Because you asked for it, Phyllis, and because there may be some of you out there who were not watching the last time we ran this, we're going to roll the tape again to disprove what the government always said, that the people burned themselves down at the Mount Carmel Church. No. In fact, the U.S. government illegally incinerated almost 80 people, including babies. Let's roll the tape.
A tank retriever. It has no apparatus to insert any kind of gas. It appears at precisely the time the smoke you saw earlier was seen coming from the underground bunker. It is not making so-called small holes to insert gas. It is destroying the end of the house over the trap door that leads from the bunker, making sure that no one inside the now burning bunker can escape. A second hole is made in the side of the building, and a third hole is made at the front door. What these tanks are doing in each picture is collapsing the inside stairwells. The following footage proves beyond any doubt that the tanks intentionally set the house on fire. It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. Watch carefully as the tank backs out of the house. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front that shoots fire. You can also see the fire quite plainly. The tank goes into the house twice, and each time as it backs out, the fire at the gas jets is plainly visible.
We have news from Erfurt, Germany. A student bent on revenge for being expelled from his school shot dead 14 teachers, 2 pupils, a police officer, and himself Friday in Germany's worst mass murder since World War II, police said. Armed with a pump-action shotgun and a handgun, he walked through the Gutenberg High School in an eastern town of Erfurt, blasting teachers he found in the quarters and classrooms.
Woo!
I know, they're just probably going to say it's copycat America.
Could be, but you know what? If the first 3 teachers that he came up to, he might have plugged the first one, might even got the second one, but the second one would have got, if they'd all been armed, if all those teachers had been packing a German Luger or any kind of handgun and shot that student back, there wouldn't have been 17 innocent dead people killed there. We should arm people. We should encourage people to pack their weapon, carry their gun. And then we wouldn't need as many police for one thing, but this tragedy wouldn't have happened.